Hi there. I'm Rick Morris. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in Clearwater, Florida, and I work with teenagers who have experienced sexual behavior issues. Welcome to the What Do I Need to Know About Laws and Sexual Behaviors training. This short but vital program is all about helping you understand what's legal and what's not when it comes to sexual behaviors. We get it. Being a teenager today means having access to tons of sexual stuff from the internet, music, and movies. It's natural to be curious, but it's also crucial to know where the boundaries are. The thing is, sometimes you might unknowingly get into trouble with the law, and the consequences can be serious. Even if you're under 18, you need to be aware of what's at stake. But don't worry, we've got your back. This training is here to break it down for you in a way that's easy to understand. Let's dive in and equip you with the knowledge you need to make informed choices about sexual behaviors and avoid any unnecessary legal headaches. Throughout this training, we'll explore the legal consequences so you know what you could be up against if things go wrong. But that's not all. We'll also discuss the social consequences that can impact your relationships and your reputation within your community. That would be your school, your family, your home. Additionally, we'll dive into the personal toll such actions can take on your well-being and your mental health. Let's get started. Hey guys, today we're going to dig into a serious topic. It's about the laws tied to sexual behaviors and what happens when they're broken. You might wonder, why do I need this? Well, most likely you wouldn't be here if you didn't have some questions, or maybe you already got into trouble for your sexual behaviors. Understanding these laws can prevent mistakes affecting you and those around you. So let's get started. Let's talk about sexual misconduct for a second. It's like a big deal, covering all sorts of messed up behavior that's not cool or legal. We're talking about stuff like non-consensual acts, sexual harassment, exploiting others. And let me tell you, the consequences of these actions can be heavy. You could face fines, jail time, both, depending on what happened and where it happened. And in serious cases, or if you keep doing it, you might even end up on that sex offender list. In Florida, I don't know if you realize it or not, but if you have a sexual crime that meets the criteria and you're 14 years or older when the crime occurred, you could be put on the sex offender registry. That's a horrible thing. Nobody wants that. Trust me, that's a label you don't want. It can screw up your life even after serving your probation or your sentence or your consequences. It's important to realize that your actions can seriously hurt others, and making things right afterwards is a tough task. Plus, having a criminal record can ruin your chances of finding the job you might want, or getting into the school or the training that you want. So treating others respectfully and ensuring that you always get clear consent in any situation is way better. Be smart and don't mess around with this stuff. Let's talk about a variety of terms used within the sexual misconduct. It's such a broad term. It covers a wide range of inappropriate or unlawful behaviors. Understanding that these behaviors violate personal boundaries and can lead to serious legal consequences is essential to understand. Let's dive into some of the main types. Sexual assault. This general term involves any sexual activity where consent is not freely given. This can include unwanted touching, groping, or forcing someone to perform sexual acts. Rape. Rape is a form of sexual assault. It's usually characterized by penetration without consent. It can involve a victim who is physically forced or threatened, unconscious, or incapable of giving consent. Sexual harassment. This refers to unwanted sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. Harassment can occur in a variety of contexts. It can include at school, it can occur at work or online or in the community. Sexual harassment can be as simple as making jokes or comments that are sexual nature about someone's body or their sexual orientation. Be very careful when you're talking to others about sexual terms. Don't forget, many young people have already experienced sexual abuse early in their lives. Sexual harassment has the potential of triggering trauma from past hurts. Sexual harassment is not acceptable. Sexual exploitation. This involves taking non-consensual, unfair, or abusive sexual advantage of another for one's benefit. It can include activities like creating or sharing explicit images without consent. That would be the sexting that goes on in many cases. Voyeurism, peeking on somebody when they think they have privacy, or human trafficking, the exploitation of human lives for sexual pleasures of people. Indecent exposure. This refers to the act of purposely displaying one's genitals, their private parts, in public, causing others to feel uncomfortable or threatened. Many young people I work with, guys will say, who would want to do that? I see a lot of young men who have done that and get arrested. Stalking. While not always sexually motivated, stalking becomes sexual misconduct involving unwanted pursuit or attention with sexual intent. Child molestation involves sexual activity with a minor, a person under the age of consent. It's a severe crime with harsh legal penalties. Incest. This is a sexual activity between family members or close relatives which is illegal in many jurisdictions or states due to potential abuse and genetic issues. Sexual cyber harassment, also known as revenge porn. This involves sharing explicit photos or videos of someone without their consent, often with the intent to cause harm or distress. It becomes available so easily with cell phones and access to the internet and social media, and the instant gratification of being angry at somebody and sending that image to a social media platform or a group of friends causes significant damage. Be very careful about what you send to others and what you put on the internet. Non-consensual pornography. This refers to sharing or disseminating an individual's explicit images or videos without their consent, which can be a form of cyber sexual harassment. Each type of sexual misconduct can cause significant harm and distress to the victims and can have serious legal consequences. Awareness and understanding of these definitions are the first steps toward prevention and protecting your future. Let's take a look at a couple of short news stories of real-life situations that teenagers find themselves in.
Story locally that seems to be following a national trend. A 15-year-old girl reports being raped at an alcohol-fueled house party. Now Tarpon Springs police are telling us they have arrested a 17-year-old boy. Our Jacqueline Ingles joins us now live with the very latest on this. Good evening, Jacqueline.
I'm here outside of Tarpon Springs High School, where we're now learning from students who are coming out from after-school activities that word of this alleged rape and arrest are spreading, and now the parents are hearing about it. Now, police tell us there was a house party over the weekend at this 17-year-old boy's Tarpon Springs home. Now, we're not naming this boy because he is not being charged as an adult. What we can tell you, though, is that his parents were not at home when this party took place, but there was alcohol there. According to police, a 15-year-old freshman here at this high school was at that party, became intoxicated, and then was taken to a bedroom to lay down. Police say the 17-year-old boy admitted to going back into the bedroom and having consensual sex with this girl. The girl, however, told police she didn't give consent, that this arrest is dividing students, and now they're taking sides on social media. They're even creating hashtags on Twitter.
Jacqueline, this is the third such case to happen around the country since last summer. 3 teenagers in San Jose, California were just arrested last week after allegedly raping a girl that was passed out drunk during a Labor Day party. Audrey Potts' family said the humiliation ultimately led her to commit suicide. And 2 former high school football players in Ohio are sitting in prison right now after being convicted last month of raping a girl who was passed out drunk during a party last summer.
So you heard 3 different stories from around our country. One from Ohio, one from California, and one from Florida, where typical teenage behaviors mixed with alcohol and sexual behaviors created lots of problems for many families and the death of a young lady. This next story will help you to see that other typical behaviors, like going into the bathroom at school, can create temptations and opportunities for criminal charges. these behaviors are more typical than many would like to admit. Take a listen.
Here's a picture of a 17-year-old student from Harrison High School in Cobb County. This is actually a mug shot. He was arrested for taking pictures of two classmates, ages 15 and 16. Let me show you what police say he did. He was in the boys' room, and there were two other students in the stall engaging in a sexual act. So he took out his phone, recorded what was happening, then took that recording and distributed it on social media and airdrop. So he's been charged with eavesdrop surveillance, which is a felony, and he faces 1 to 5 years if convicted. Now, as for the two underage students engaged in that sexual act, we don't know if they've been charged or disciplined because they are juveniles.
So if those stories didn't get your attention, realize those are real teenagers in real situations, both on the perpetration and the victim end. Lots of people hurt. Think about the families of the perpetrator, families of the victims. Think about the individuals as they grow and transition into adulthood. These images and history of assaults or violation of their privacy being distributed across the internet is out there forever. Let's take a look at some scenarios that you might find yourself in and think about how you might handle those. Here are some real-life scenarios we'll walk through together involving different types of sexual misconduct. I'll explain how the law might apply in each situation. Please note that the laws can vary significantly depending on your state, your jurisdiction of where you live, so the following examples are only general explanation. So the first one is a sexual assault. Imagine two high school students at a party drinking alcohol. One of them, John, has been drinking heavily. He attempts to make a sexual advance towards Sarah, who has not been drinking. Sarah repeatedly tells him no, but John, impaired by his alcohol, doesn't listen and forces himself on Sarah. In this case, John could be charged with sexual assault. Even though they're both teenagers and know each other, the key element here is a lack of consent from Sarah. It doesn't matter if John was drunk. Lack of consent means any sexual act could be considered an assault. Sexual harassment. Let's say Michael and Sarah are in the same class. Michael often makes sexual comments about Sarah's appearance and sends her unsolicited, explicit messages. Despite Sarah telling him to stop, Michael continues with this behavior. Michael's repeated unwanted sexual advances could be classified as sexual harassment. Schools often have policies against such behavior, which could lead up to disciplinary actions like a suspension or expulsion. And depending on the community and the jurisdiction, it could also result in being arrested with legal consequences and removed from the school. Scenario number 3. Non-consensual pornography. David and Emily are both 17 and they're dating. Emily sends David a suggestive photo of herself. They break up after a few weeks, and in his anger, David shares Emily's photo with his friends without her consent. David's actions can be categorized as non-consensual pornography, often called revenge porn. In many jurisdictions, this is a crime, and given that they are both minors, David could also be charged with distributing child pornography. Scenario number 4, sexual exploitation. In an online chat room, 45-year-old Mark pretends to be a 16-year-old boy, and he manipulates 15-year-old Lucy into sharing explicit photos of herself. Mark threatens to share these photos online if she doesn't send more. This is an instance of sexual exploitation, specifically online child exploitation. Mark could face severe criminal charges, including soliciting a minor and possessing and distributing child pornography. This happens a lot. These scenarios illustrate different forms of sexual misconduct and potential legal consequences. It's critical to understand that consent, respect for others' boundaries, and lawful conduct are always necessary in all interactions. We're sharing this information not to scare you, but to make you aware of the realities. Knowing the laws is the first step in understanding why it's so important to respect others' boundaries. Remember, your actions matter. Be sure to make choices that help, not harm, yourself and those around you. Let's take a look at what we've talked about so far. The law stuff. We've dug into laws about sexual misconduct. It's not just about good or bad, it's also about legal and illegal. Not knowing the law doesn't give anyone a free pass. We've looked at the line in the sand. We've talked about different types of sexual misconduct like assault or harassment, sharing explicit stuff without permission. It's not just uncool, it's also against the law and can land you in major trouble. We've looked at real talk consequences. Your actions can really change your life and others too. It's not just about the here and now. Your future work, your future college, your future relationships could all be affected by the choices you make right now. And lastly, keep it respectful. Bottom line, it all comes down to respect. Respect for yourself, respect for others, and respect for the law. Keep that in mind, and you're heading in the right direction. This might be a good time to stop and think about what you can do right now to prepare for situations you might find yourself in. Or maybe you've already been in tough situations and you want to make better choices next time. Remember, this isn't about scaring you, but giving you the facts to make smarter choices. Knowing this stuff, that's real power right there. So let's keep talking. Stay cool, respect each other's space. Sound good? Until next time, take care and make good choices. I'm Rick Morris, licensed mental health counselor in Clearwater, Florida. You matter.